Welcome to Main Street Minds with your host, Amish Munshi. This is where industry leaders and seasoned pros share their secrets to success beyond limits. Let's dive in.
Good.
Hello and welcome to Main Street Minds. Today we have a very special guest, Adrian Rodriguez, with us. And I don't know if I start an introduction, I might be here for a full hour. So let the entire entire session kind of be an introduction. I've known Adrian for decades. I have worked on him on multiple levels, partnership projects, work, syndications, just probably everything. Adrian knows more about me than I know about myself. So it's a little scary interview this time. So we'll try and stick to things that are relevant and super interesting, but we just have so much to speak about, and it excites me and to kind of share and have this very special episode. So without any further delay, Adrian, tell us your secrets. There's just so much that I still don't know about you, and I'm looking forward to learning more.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you, Amish. I'll agree. It has been so many years, and decades makes me feel really old. So we'll just say that it's been a really long time, and it's always been like a great pleasure. You know, even when I pick up the phone just to give you a call to say hi, having that happy voice on the other side, it just it resonates. It resonates to just the relationship that we've had over the years, and always willing to do things that are to both of our interests and our families and more. So yeah.
Sounds great. So tell us more about how did your professional journey begin? Like where did you start? Like what were you studying? What were you doing?
So I studied to be a civil engineer, which, it's
Oh,
it's odd, because civil engineering doesn't align very well with tech. In a way, I came out of school saying, man, I want to build the next skyscraper. And because of when I graduated, most of the projects out there were just maintenance projects, things where, hey, just let us know if you think that there's a crack in the wall here.
yeah.
And honestly, that wasn't the most exciting thing that you can do. I probably would show up to work on certain mornings and sit down and open up a book about measuring concrete tensibilities and things of that nature and say to myself, what am I doing here? You'd go, you'd get coffee, you'd come back, you'd sit down again, you'd have a meeting, and they say, we've got nothing for you really, but we're glad that you're here. And I've never wanted to, and this from knowing me for a while, I never want to just be sitting around. I always feel like you want to be as active as possible, always learning, always trying things. And I say that your best learning comes from doing. I don't mind doing the YouTubes and picking up the books and even paying for courses, but ultimately, there's a lot of people that do a lot of that and never actually put it into practice. So I'm one of those people that doesn't mind just jumping in and putting things in practice. So I decided very quickly that I was going to move over to tech. I started off as a let's see, what would they have called me, a service help desk guy. So I spent about a year on the help desk side, and really got a liking for just repairing, desktops, and said, hey, I could probably do this for the rest of my life. And someone else that I worked for identified my skills and said, why are you here repairing desktops when you're also the guy that's making sure that everyone's kind of on track with their work. You've actually stepped into my role, which again, at the time he was my supervisor, and you're doing all of the things that I should be doing, but I don't get to do them because you're doing them before I even get to them. He said you should really move into something else. He started guiding me towards technology, project management on the technology side. And he said, but before you go there, do some business analysis work because you
Yeah.
can never really truly get there without being a business analyst first.
Yeah.
So I kind of dove into that for a couple of years. That gave me some of the technology basis that I live with now and continue to build off of, and also driving into project management, driving into engagement management, sales, architecture, and just continue to take on different work as I went, just to be able to continue to grow and learn as much as possible.
Yeah, that is amazing. And when you say you did it for a little, I don't think it was a little. 2 years is plenty of time to like master business analysis, right? Like you've seen multiple scenarios, and especially working in a consulting environment, you've got
Mm.
exposure to like multiple different clients. It's not like this one-off scenario saying hey, one project.
Yeah.
It's just so many different projects happening at the same time, and going from business analysis to project management and a little bit into sales as well, right? Like how did
Mhm.
that transition happen?
I mean, I'll say that most of the transitions that I've gone through have been someone else identifying my strengths
Yeah.
rather than me identifying them myself. It's always been, hey, can you take this on over here? And they do it hoping that I'll be able to master it, hoping that I'll be able to, maybe get past it. And then when they realize, hey, he's not that bad at it, we'll let him do it for a few more months, and ultimately that becomes my role, and then I continue to step on from there. So, having gone into architecture, on the identity management side was fantastic. I would have never been able to dive into technologies like that if I didn't take that extra step from saying, hey, the business analysis part is great, but how does this actually interact together? And can I get up in front of someone and whiteboard this for them? And knowing that most likely this is someone that I just flew in from a 4 hour flight to sit in front of them and say, hey, I'm your expert. Let me tell you what to do with your environment here, and really produce that at a level of excellence that makes sense for them more than it made sense for myself, even because sometimes you'll go in with a couple of preconceived notions, but really giving someone what they want and what they need were always so much more important to me.
Yeah. And I launched the whole podcast, and I keep telling everyone that a lot of people think that working in tech is like being in a corner and like just with your heads down and doing coding and like not having to speak with anybody. But you actually had to deal with that team of people just because the product was just so complicated, right? This was
Hmm.
one of scenario where that is actually true, where there are people and really specialized skills required to get that product to do something, and you were responsible to bridge that gap between that extremely good skills, but no, but people have not having any communication, or they just don't want to deal with speaking with anybody, right? From managing that team to managing client expectation, like what was it like?
I'll say it was interesting, to say the least, because I've always said, you want to make a client happy, but you also want to make them happy with the reality of what they have. So identity management as a technology and security as a whole, there's people that have a ton of expectations, and just framing that expectation or putting it in a box a lot of times really helps. Setting your boundaries and having conversations around those boundaries also helped.
Yeah.
And really sticking to, some type of measurable scope. Because again, I will always say, you will start off building a car, and by the time you're done, that client wants a spaceship. And I don't mind giving them a spaceship as long as we're kind of changing the scope as we go. But just having those conversations of what's realistic versus what isn't, is really helpful. But you're not going to do that without having those uh, understanding the technology enough to have a technology conversation, and then being able to align that to a business need and saying, okay, I have this traceable item here where I can say, you want to be able to have a view into everyone's systems, but that's not going to come without us doing these other four things. So if you're willing to open this up, open that up, and open this up, we'll do it. But guess what? I'll even let you know what the risks are of you doing that, because you also want to know that as well. So giving somebody the complete picture
Mhm.
is something that I was very, very good at. So you're not just getting the, hey, I want this, and you just turn around and do it for them. We really would put out, hey, this is where you're going to be. This is what the risk is going to be. And maybe even 5 years from now, this is what you might experience as this technology grows. Because everyone from 20 years ago said identity management is going to be dead. I mean, you probably read the articles as much as I did.
Yeah.
And, I would laugh at the articles and say, how can identity management or security die? It's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Like
So,
with ID.me now, and it scares the crap out of me, saying, how in the world is this? Like, this is something that's just so required and essential, but I like what is happening, but at the same time, it scares me with what's going on.
yeah,
I
yeah.
just needed my ID.me to like take care of my taxes, and I was like, holy crap, this is I didn't realize we will get to this stage someday.
No, and I tell people, I mean, I was on an interview like this not so long ago, and I said to the guy, look, I'm even gonna put my hand in front of my face just so that it's not a deep fake. You're getting Adrian, it's and that's to the level that this technology has gone. I mean, and those safeguards are so important. That understanding of something as simple as, hey, you've got somebody that's trying to do a deep fake. Generally, they're not going to be able to kind of like, put their hand in front of their face as quickly and show that that's really them.
Mhm.
So, all of those things become so important. Those little tips, those little ideas, those little experiences, they resonate so heavily.
Yeah, so I think identity and access management is where we got on a few projects and got introduced. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and all the travel that we did together from Minneapolis to all the universities in Northeast. I think we covered every possible region and area of
We did.
possible. So from there, I think you did make very good progress from there into leadership roles and into additional ventures as well, right? So tell us more about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say, the leadership roles were just little things that I thought were important to
Mhm.
myself at the time. I said, hey, if I'm doing a good job of leading a small group, can I get to a slightly larger group?
Yeah.
And can I still resonate the things that I feel are important? One of the things that I think is important is just managing all of the efforts that we complete with excellence.
Mhm.
I don't think it's a huge expectation, because if you're walking in with that thought from the beginning, it sets the standard for everyone in the room.
Mhm.
And why can't we manage to work at a level of excellence? So, I'd say that was very important. But I also learned that to reach a level of excellence, you have to feel very comfortable with doing the work. And that might mean that you need to be educated to do the work. And you have to be honest with yourself in knowing that that's something that you need. So filling the holes of those needs, so I took courses, I read books, I did everything that was necessary to try to become a better leader. And I would always push folks that work for me to do similar things in their own craft. Because I said, as soon as you become more valuable, you will do things without fear, and without not having fear will make you get closer to excellence.
Yeah.
So that's always been something, and you've heard it from me for 20 years. So the story hasn't changed.
Yeah, yeah, and it's always good to kind of have take care of everything that's going on, it's just a very fulfilling experience, right? When you're able to like help others kind of onboard and like learn new things and kind of mentor them and coach them to reach a similar level of success. So between all of this, like I know you are a true New Yorker at heart, and you love the entire East Coast. So tell us more about any other ventures that helped you gain more experience.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've definitely had a good number of ventures. I would almost consider myself a bit of a serial entrepreneur to a certain extent, but different from your average serial entrepreneur that just comes in, builds the business, sells it, and walks away. I tend to be that guy that says, "Hey, I'm going to make this business really good, and then I'm going to keep it." And I'm going to continue to try to manage it, and sometimes managing it by putting the right people in place, because
Mhm.
I believe that the right people are the difference in any business. And
Yeah,
sometimes by going out of my way and trying to wear three hats, where I'm working, but I'm also running a business while I'm also providing for the family, and those I think are very important things. Um, I think that from a business perspective and things that I've grown, one of the things that I value the most is the thought of, hey, I provide for these individuals. I one of the businesses I own, I own a gym in Westchester. It's 24,000 square feet, so you can only imagine. I've got 40 contractors and employees that work out of that space, and I don't view it from a perspective of managing 40 people. I really truly view it from the perspective of, hey, 40 people rely on me for their day-to-day food, clothes,
yeah,
entertainment even, because they could never say, hey, Adrian hasn't written a check for me.
yeah,
Adrian hasn't been there to support me when I've had an issue and I've called in and said, hey, I can't wake up. It's 5 a.m. Somebody's got to open the doors. I'm not going to make it there on time. Sometimes I'm the guy that has to get up, hop in the car very fast, and open the doors, because of course you also want to provide great service and be available for people and give them what they are accustomed to. And in places like gyms, people show up, and they show up every day, and it becomes part of their rhythm and their happiness. And I can't take that happiness away by not opening the doors. So,
yeah.
you know,
Exactly. And I think just the experience of being able to do something real on the field and like in a corporate environment, being able to bridge that gap is very, very meaningful. A lot of people get lost in the corporate environment, say, hey, I'm doing this one little thing and I do that really, really well. Versus
mhm.
on the other extreme, like having to manage everything that happens in a business, are
Yeah.
like two extreme ends. And but the reality is like there is stuff. A business is a business, right? The core of it is very, very similar. There is money coming in, there is a service being provided, there is customers, and there is affiliates and vendors and employees, right? All of that kind of gels together, and being able to bridge that gap and bring that rich experience into each other is great. Like all the corporate processes are extremely good to kind of implement in a smaller business and a mid-sized business, and let it
Mhm.
scale from there.
Yeah, yeah, I would completely agree. And I'll say that, even, just being able to be sensitive to people's needs. You
Mm-hmm.
know, as you already know, I always want to understand what someone needs for them to feel successful.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have an idea of what they think their next step is. And if I, in some way, shape, or form, can help to educate someone, mentor someone, or, even point them in the right direction towards something that will help them get there, that's always been my way of doing things. I'm a good connector from that perspective as well.
Absolutely. So as we come into today's world, like tell us like what's motivating you, what is driving you forward?
I mean, I'd say waking up, you know, every day. And some people, and I've had this conversation probably about 100 times,
Mm-hmm.
where some people say, "Man, you woke up and you showed up,"
Yeah.
and I think that waking up and showing up is very, very important. You have to kind of attack every day with the same passion. You have to know that maybe you're going to get knocked down a few times, and your challenge for the day is, how did I go through being knocked down a little bit to stepping up and really being the best person that I could be, not just for myself, but for someone else.
Yeah.
So those are probably the things that are important to me. And again, it sounds crazy, but I absolutely wake up every day and say, "Hey, what's the first fantastic thing that I can do today?" And it might sound corny, but that's always it's been part of my DNA.
Yeah, yeah. And I know like even the family has been like extremely important to you. So being available for everyone, and it's just amazing how well you're able to take care of everyone in the family. And I always look at some of your posts, and I'm like, I just wish I could be raising kids that well. The videos and posts for of Ryan, like achieving such high levels, it just feels magical.
Yeah, yeah, no, and I will say, I treat every experience with him, with my son, in a way that's very valuable. I like having those amazing experiences with him, to have been able to have been part of his journey. Because at the end of the day, I look at my parents and say, with everything that they had going on, with all of the things that they did,
Mhm.
I was still a very big part of their journey. And I will say, I think that it's very much within the Latin community, the Latino community, where that is,
Yeah.
part of, family is big. Your children, you really kind of groom them and help them, sometimes by bad talking them into being better. But again, neither here nor there. I think, there is a bit of a switch and a transference in terms of how we've done it, and my parents did it with me towards how I'm doing it with him. But
Yeah.
I'm having good results, and ultimately, what are we looking for? We're looking for the best results that we can have, and then give him the opportunity to do his best.
Yeah.
So yeah.
He's really lucky to have you as the parent. So thanks for taking great care of him. So going forward, like where do you see yourself? Like let's say 5 or 10 years from now, what would you call success?
I mean, I'd say that success would be not just my success,
Hmm.
but the success of whoever's coming up behind me. Um, because at the end of the day, you can always do fantastically great for yourself.
Hmm.
And there's a ton of people that can do fantastically great for themselves, but
Hmm.
can you extend your greatness into someone else?
Hmm.
Can you and this doesn't only mean from the perspective of my son. It means the perspective of partners that I do business with. It's
Hmm.
from the perspective of people that come into contact with me,
Hmm.
where they can turn back around and say, "Hey, remember you told me about that we sat down and talked about that system that I wanted to open up, or that, system I wanted to put out there. And I did it. And, I knew that I disappeared off the map for 3 years, but guess what? Guess what happened? Those are the stories that I love to hear, and even if all I did was have one conversation with that person, being able to know that they succeeded through that conversation
Yeah.
is incredibly important.
Yeah, yeah, that is amazing. So yeah, as we sorry, uh, where is where is this? Is that yeah? Sorry, I'll cut this part. I have no idea. The phone is not ringing and the computer is ringing. I have no idea how that
Give me
happened.
give me 1 second. Since you're cutting some, let me plug in my phone
Yeah,
so that I don't die on you while we're chatting. All right, I'm plugged in.
cool. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I was at 9%.
Okay. Yeah, you're not using a MacBook. Yeah. So yeah, as that is a very very big achievement, being able to see other people succeed. I have a ladder that I speak about in investments. Like most people are scared about buying their first house, then they end up buying it, then they are worried about getting an investment property and having to deal with anything, and then they end up having an investment property and kind of a career ladder. But I think a life ladder is some I and at that even within the career ladder, investment ladder, I see like the last stage is being able to do something for others, right? Like that is the end achievement that and it's amazing that you're able to actually reach there and contribute meaningfully in other people's lives. Like that, the sense of satisfaction is probably the final stage of success. Obviously, there is more than success in life, but this just in terms of ladders of steps, I think that's at least with my limited understanding, that's the level of understanding I'm able to reach. I'm sure there is more after that, but
Oh no, I'm totally sure there's more. I mean, I actually volunteered maybe about a year and a half ago at a senior retirement home for, I did a couple of days of volunteer work, and I got a chance to sit down with an older gentleman that might have been somewhere around 85 years old. And he
yeah,
said, "Hey, how old are you?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm going to be 50." And he said to me at the time, he said, "Wow, you're not even halfway through your life yet." And he said to me, "How long do you think these 50 years have been?" And I said, "Wow, they've been really, really long, because I feel like I've done so much in these 50." And he goes, "Well, if you last till 85 like me, that next 35 years is probably going to feel just as long." And I
yeah,
said to myself, wow, if 1 to 50 has felt this long, I really have a lot of time left, and I'm really going to have to think about, something beyond what people normally think about. I mean, my mom retired in her 50s, and I said, "Hey, maybe I'll retire in my 50s as well." And, then I'm starting to look at it and say, maybe I've got a lot more time left. And maybe not, when I use the term retirement, people may be thinking retire from a job. I'm really just thinking retirement from, running businesses, or, a part-time job, or, whatever other responsibilities I tend to want to delegate to myself that go beyond the just enrichment of my own life.
yeah, yeah, exactly, and that is extremely well put. So, uh, as we come closer to the end of this episode, I think that's a very very important piece of learning that anybody listening to this has. Like, there is just so much more to be done. There is a phrase or a term called retirement, but it means a little to in reality. Most people are just kind of ascending the ladder of success, right? Like they are getting to the next stage and they're just doing something slightly different. It may be it may be paying them, it might be paying them money, but money doesn't mean as much. So it's paying them success. It's paying them happiness. And that's way more valuable than money most of the times.
Absolutely. I would completely agree.
Yeah. So as we come closer to the end of this episode, is there anything else you would like to share with the audience?
I mean, I'd say that, some of the things that I've learned over the years from others, young and old, um, have been important. And I'd say that I would have learned none of it without reaching out and communicating. And I know that in this time, people tend to want to communicate digitally or really not make the connections that my parents and their parents made in the past.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important to establish those connections, stay connected to people that you care about, just like you and I have stayed connected for practically 30 years. That connection goes beyond investments that we've made together, businesses that we've run together.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just a matter of saying hi. There
Yeah.
is so much value in the hi.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's extremely valuable, and I'll kind of conclude this episode with that. Reach out to Adrian on his Instagram, and I think you also post on YouTube Shorts or Facebook as well, right? So
Yep.
reach out to Adrian over there. He's a great mentor. If you just have a casual question or anything specific to what he's doing, definitely reach out to Adrian, and he's always there to help and guide and kind of take us in the right direction.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Amish. Good to connect with you again.
Yeah, thanks.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Main Street Minds. Want to share your journey with our audience? Head over to mainstreetmindspodcast.com/guest to apply.